0 to 100 real quick.
Cory Joseph. I think he's earning minutes.
Finds DeRozan. DeRozan pushed. Joseph in the corner for the win. Got it.
I'm the rookie in the vet.
Joseph
Shout out to the
in
Zion holding down the
corner
set.
for the win.
The Warriors have signed yet another guard to the roster. This brings the total number of ball handlers for the Warriors up to 5, including Curry, Dre, CP3, Pods, and the latest signee, former Pistons backup guard Cory Joseph. Hey, what's happening everyone? This is Swish. This Warriors signing is a typical one-year veteran deal for the 31-year-old Joseph, who's seen his fair share of movement across the league. Prior to playing for the Pistons, he played for the Kings, Pacers, and his home country team the Raptors, all for about 2 years each. One of the relatively unknown facts about Joseph is that he's actually an NBA champion. The San Antonio Spurs, who drafted him 29th overall in 2011, got a major boost from Joseph leading up to the 2013 NBA Finals. Around the All-Star break in 2013, Tony Parker went down with an injury, and Joseph became the starting point guard for the Spurs in just his second year in the league. While the Spurs lost the matchup to the Heat that year in a final series that went 7 games, Joseph, along with the rest of the squad with Timmy, Parker, and the Claw, won the championship the following year in 2014. While this was a long time ago, 9 years to be exact, Joseph has still been somewhat productive off the bench for the Pistons in providing solid backup minutes as a shooter and ball handler. Just last year, he averaged 7 points and 3.5 assists while shooting 39% from deep in 20 minutes of playing time behind Pistons rookie Jaden Ivey. Just the year before that, he did even better numbers behind Cade Cunningham. The Warriors for the past few years have clearly been biased towards signing small guys to handle the ball, and this is clearly no different. Are the Warriors doubling down on a losing formula, or is there some room to maximize the returns on a small lineup? More importantly, however, what does this particular signing mean for the Warriors? Standing at 6'3", he's got solid size for a point guard. Despite being a part of the team that won a championship, Joseph's career never saw him as anything more than an off-the-bench role player with less and less talented teams as the years have gone by. This sets the expectation for Cory Joseph to be pretty low, as he's not really expected to move the needle. But then, why bother signing him instead of trying to add some size to the roster? Well, let's take a look at how this roster is currently constructed. The Warriors' starting lineup consists of Curry, Clay, Wiggins, Draymond, and Looney. The second unit would be CP3, GP2, Moody, Kuminga, and Jackson Davis. Then third string, we're looking at Joseph and Pods. With 12 roster spots occupied, the team is looking to get this number up to 14 to start the season, as well as a couple of two-way players. Did you notice that the Warriors currently don't have a single player taller than the Lakers point guard at 6'9"? While the team is still rolling with its standard starting 5, don't forget that Steve Kerr will likely mix things up a bit throughout the season depending on matchups as well as player performance. This is a carryover starting 5 from the championship year, and considering these guys aren't getting any younger, we'll have to consider injuries as an inevitability in a grueling 82-game season. On top of that, the NBA is adding a new in-season tournament that will see teams split into groups and vying for a tournament title, with the finals of that series being the only game that doesn't count toward the 82 games each team is expected to play for the year. So while it doesn't in fact add any additional games to the season except for the finalists, the intensity level for this tournament is certain to add additional wear and tear on these players. Expect a lot of shuffling and minutes sharing to ensure that the starters don't get burnt out before the playoffs begin. If I didn't make it clear before, all these additional guards are supposed to take the load off Steph Curry, especially during the regular season. To put it bluntly, Steve Kerr is not expecting any player over 6'8" to come in and provide any sort of offense for the Warriors. If they wanted that, James Wiseman would still be on the team. What Kerr values is ball movement, defense, and shooting. If you recall last season, the MO was to try to get the Splash Brothers open shots. The problem with that approach is that it put too much pressure on the younger guys such as Moody and Kuminga, and even Poole to a much lesser extent. Instead of playing the game the way they knew how, they ended up second guessing their moves and whether or not they should try to score instead of trying to facilitate and look for the constantly moving Steph Curry or Klay Thompson. This ended up with a lot of plays not being executed as planned and Kerr benching the young players in favor of veterans. This then led to frustration amongst the young players who were complaining about lack of minutes, which eventually led to some dissension and eventually a lack of continuity in the locker room. This problem became apparent much earlier on in the season, but was mostly ignored. That is, the team played quite well with the young guys when the Splash Brothers weren't on the floor. Obviously the team is better with them, but would go on stretches of wins despite Curry or Klay only sitting courtside. It'll be interesting to see if Kerr does anything with this in the upcoming year. Let's see if he reduces the restrictions on Kuminga and Moody to allow them to play their best game. I suspect this will not be happening anytime soon, however. Eventually, the team fell apart in the second round of last season's playoffs. Now, technically they fell apart in the first round of the playoffs, but Curry was able to rally the team and carry them home against the Kings. The Lakers, however, proved to be too much and defeated the Warriors in 6 games. With more guards on the roster, Kerr is able to maintain more fluidity between the lineups. This allows him to put Curry into just about any lineup as the style of play is going to be similar no matter who he puts on the floor. That being said, things will get very interesting with CP3. As I mentioned earlier, Joseph shot 39% from 3 last year. This was actually down from 41.4% the year prior, which has been his best shooting year to date. To put it simply, Cory Joseph is in the midst of the best shooting of his life. Great, so he can shoot. But can he defend? No one in Detroit seems to think so. But let's get some statistics. Cory Joseph had a 121 defensive rating last year with the Pistons. It looks bad, but then you realize this is with the Pistons, so you cut him some slack. This team's defense is probably worse, right? Wrong. The Pistons team defense was actually rated at 118 last year, which means he's worse than the average Piston defender. Only the Spurs, Rockets, and Blazers were worse. To make matters worse, he's only been getting worse year over year. What could possibly be worse?
Bruh. Thank you.
Well, for starters, or should I say bench players, his turnovers. No, not the actual number of turnovers, but the fact that when he does turn the ball over, a lot of them are unforced. This has been a problem the Warriors have struggled to avoid, and it doesn't appear they'll have a solution anytime soon. Outside of CP3, I think it's safe to say that the Warriors will continue having that problem. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Despite his turnovers being his major weakness, they're also a point of strength for Joseph. Despite the frustrating unforced turnovers, he doesn't have too many. With a 4-to-1 assist to turnover ratio, Joseph ranks 9th in the entire league, being the second Warrior on this roster behind only Chris Paul, who's ranked 4th overall in taking care of the ball. One underrated skill of Cory Joseph as well is his ability to run an offense. Those assists aren't accidents. On a team with better players, expect his assists to go up and maybe even his points as well as shooting percentages as he plays with increased floor spacing. His addition means the Warriors have plenty of depth when it comes to setting up the team to score. This means less stagnation on offense when Curry is resting. No more one-man show, and hopefully with these 2 backup guards, we see more traditional pick-and-roll action. A diversified offense can only help the Warriors when the Splash Brothers are misfiring. Including and integrating the additional players on this roster is a big move that, while it doesn't scream superstar, could elevate the Warriors to the next level by the sheer value of the reduced turnovers. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications for all my latest uploads. Thanks for watching. Till next time. Swish.